Right in front of your eyes, the aesthetic construction of whiteness. The work of artists Fred Wilson, Harmony Rosales, Yinka Barre, Glenn Ligon, and Carrie Mae Weems form a visual timeline that exposes whiteness as an aesthetic creation reliant on classicism, racialized gender hierarchy, Euro-white supremacy, and the museum in order to maintain value. Fred Wilson's Met of the Muse, 2006, reveals the role of classicism in the aesthetic invention of whiteness through a visual juxtaposition of African and Greco-Roman sculptural plaster casts. Wilson reveals the compositional and formal binaries invented and reinvented by Greco-Roman and classical sculptors in pursuit of aesthetically constructing whiteness through the gap between each reproduction. In Birth of Oshun, 2017, Harmony Rosales complicates neoclassicist conflations of classicist whiteness with notions of beauty, morality, and modesty by radically riffing on Botticelli's Birth of Venus, revealing the racialized gender hierarchy being visually constructed during the period. In ancient Roman iconography, Venus is a stand-in for beauty, love, sex, and prosperity. Rosales' replacement of Venus with Yoruba goddess Oshun destabilizes Euro-aesthetic value systems that ascribe morality and virtuosity with classicist notions of physical beauty. In Birth of Oshun, Rosales' central figure features brown skin, plausible proportions, and close-cropped hair, demanding a reevaluation of beauty as conceived by its proximity to whiteness. Rosales leaves few signifiers from Botticelli's work, including the obscuring of the central figure's genitals. This inclusion is a visual reminder that while neoclassicist artists were visually upholding whiteness, they were simultaneously constructing a racialized gendered hierarchy dependent on feminine modesty, acquiescence, and willingness to aspire to notions of beauty and morality. Yinka Barre's Scramble for Africa, 2003, connects the construction of whiteness with nationalism, capitalism, and Christendom, exposing imperialist Euro-white supremacy as aesthetically reliant on Africa as a binary opposite. Shonibari's sculpture conceptually depicts the Berlin Conference, where 14 European countries negotiated the colonial partitioning of Africa. Shonibari's composition further ties the European Constitution of Africa to textile industries and global racial capitalism, both through his use of mannequins and by plastering each figure in Dutch wax. Mannequins are commonly used to market clothing, and the purpose of the Berlin Conference was to legally dictate the rights of European countries to exploit capital, resources, and labor from Africa, often with ties to the textile industry, specifically cotton production. Shonibari's depiction of the colonial partitioning of Africa turns the Berlin Conference into a showroom and the meeting table a site of auction, complete with an African map inlay. Although the Berlin Conference representatives were European, the mannequins appear in a range of shades, revealing that the creation of whiteness is reliant on notions of property, capital, and value, which had not yet been constituted as the sculpture captures the figures mid-session. Shonibari plasters each figure in Dutch wax, an indigenous Indonesian fabric appropriated by Dutch colonizers and sold to West Africa. Meanwhile, Dutch Calvinist Protestants were forwarding minimalist aesthetics, revealing the role of Dutch merchants and the church in constituting an Africa opposite of Europe. By marketing color and pattern to West Africa, while financially exploiting the continent via labor and resource extraction, the Dutch created a visual binary between Africa and Europe that posited the aesthetics of whiteness as supreme. Glenn Ligon's Double America, 2012, sculpturally reveals America and whiteness as mutually constructed, and the aesthetics of whiteness as central in the creation of the United States. Double America features America written backwards and horizontally flipped, creating a visual signifier for the dissonance between constitutional promises of freedom and a whiteness built on legal exclusion of a constructed racial opposite. Ligon's rectangular composition conjures notions of a flag, but Ligon bypasses traditional American iconography to sculpturally reduce the country to its core, illuminating the underbelly of a nation powered by whiteness. In Museums, 2006, Carrie Mae Weems compositionally exposes the museum as instrumental in the upholding of aestheticized whiteness as equivalent to moral, national, intellectual, and capital value. In each work, Weems appears in a black floor-length dress, revealing the stark aesthetic whiteness of the neoclassical structures that she faces, aided by stylized black and white photography. By capturing her figure below the implied horizon line in each composition, Weems reveals architecturally imposed power, specifically harnessed when designing institutions that assert the ability to dominate, disseminate knowledge, signify capital and Euro-white nationalism, and ratify law. By placing these images in a collection, Weems highlights architectural similarities between institutions and contextualizes the museum in the architectural lineage of upholding aesthetic white supremacy. Critical examination of these pieces as a collection reveals the classicist construction and aesthetic reconstruction of whiteness, a creation that requires continuous reinvention to conserve value.